as we tell you on this program, no secrets here, nothing up our sleeve, just trying to get to the truth. I often wonder if mainstream media, or lamestream media as we call it, actually did the work that we do, if we would know a lot more and be armed with so much more information to help ourselves. Helping us do that on the program today is Flight 253 eyewitness Kurt Haskell. Kurt and his wife Lori were on the fated flight with the underwear bomber, and his eyewitness reports are very startling, and I think just paint a much wider picture, which we are trying to get to the bottom of. So, Kurt, again, I thank you for being on the program. How are you guys holding up right now, by the way?
Doing a little better now. It was a little rough for the first few days. A little stressful, and I had quite a few nightmares, but doing a little better lately.
Not what you wanted for Christmas, I assume.
No, not exactly what I wanted.
I know Lori wasn't feeling well. Is she doing better?
Lori is very ill today, but not because of this. She has the flu and is very sick today.
Okay, well, our best wishes for her, and I just hope this all kind of ends for you at some point, and I do, again, appreciate you spending time with us today, but I just want to make sure we comb through this enough to make sure we've got everything, and then the investigation goes on from there. Before we went to the break, I was asking you about the videotape, the guy doing the videotape. According to Patricia Keepman and her daughter, they witnessed this guy shooting video during the entire flight. They call him very calm, and they don't know whatever happened to him. Did you see this man? Can you identify him?
I did not see him, and what I know about it is this. We were sitting in row 27, seats H and J, which are the two seats bordering the window on the right side of the plane. From what I understand from my fellow passengers, the man videotaping the incident was sitting in approximately row 30, seat A, B, or C on the left side of the plane. And on this particular plane, behind row 28 were bathrooms. So our view of the area he was supposedly sitting in would have been obscured by the bathroom. So I have no first-hand knowledge of this.
Common sense would tell us, if there is videotape, and as you mentioned, they seem to know there was videotape of the incident, wouldn't you be, in something as important as this, confiscating everyone's videotapes? I don't know.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%, but they did not do that.
Is it possible they don't want us to see what's on that videotape? We're still looking for the plane crashing into the Pentagon, Kurt. I don't know how much you know about that, but I don't know where those tapes are. We see millions of shots of the planes flying into the World Trade Center Tower in 9/11, nothing with planes flying into the Pentagon. For some reason, they don't seem to want us to see those. But
I don't really want to comment on 9/11.
No, that's fine. I'm bringing it up because, again, we have another videotape that we may not ever see, which I think would be very helpful for we, the American people, before they ask us to start giving up all our rights to protect us from something like this.
And they could have had it. They had us all in an area with all of our carry-on bags, and they could have easily had it.
And they might have actually gotten it. We just don't know. They might actually be holding this videotape right now. We just don't know.
Maybe so.
Yeah. I'd like to talk to Patricia Keepman and see if she can identify the person, because obviously there are pictures of everybody getting on and off the plane. Let's go to what happened to you yesterday. So, and then I want to ask you about the response from the authorities, counterterrorism in Amsterdam, who seems to be denying a lot of this. So you got a visit yesterday. You got a visit yesterday from the FBI. Finally, they're coming to hear your story. Tell us how that went down. They separated you guys, right?
It seemed more just like an obligatory visit to me. The two agents came. I think they were from the Detroit office. And, I'm not criticizing these two agents in particular. They were very, very professional. My criticism has to do with the agency in general. When they got here, the first thing I said to them was, I'm assuming you brought the video from Schiphol Airport boarding area, because to me that would be the most logical place to start this interview, where we could look at and go over together. I'm sure you brought that with you, right? And, of course, I got blank stares from that question. They proceeded to ask me all the same questions they did the other day when I was being held in customs. With one exception, they brought a stack of photographs, and they were face shots, and they asked me who I could identify and who they were and who I could not identify.
And what did they show you? Whose pictures did they show you?
Well, two were of the terrorist man. Interestingly enough, two, because all the other pictures were of different people. In an attempt to trip me up, I think, putting two of him in there. But
you correctly identified the that would be
yeah, and what I said to them was, look, guys, if you're trying to get me to make a mistake here, why don't you give me a full body picture of this man? Because part of my self-identifying this man wasn't just looking at his face; it was his entire body,
his clothes, obviously. And
I said, if you really want me to make a positive identification, you need to give me better pictures other than just the face shot. And I said, but just from the face shots, I think they're both of the same man.
Well, I mean, not that anyone hadn't seen Umar Farouk's picture plastered all over the newspapers for the last couple of days. Maybe they would have been better off to ask these questions sooner. You also said that they asked a lot of the wrong questions. Did you cover that, or is there anything else that you...
Well, I wanted to touch on one other thing with the pictures, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I could not identify any of the other ones except one. And I looked at the picture, and I looked back at the agents, and I looked back at the picture, and I said, you know what? This looks like the guy that you guys hauled off when the bomb-sniffing dog found something in his carry-on bag, the one you handcuffed and took away, the one that you refused to admit exists. And they didn't really like that comment from me either.
Because you correctly identified the second bomber, which is actually being talked about in the media now, thankfully.
Yeah, amazingly, a few hours after I made that statement to them, the FBI came out last night and admitted, whoops, we didn't actually detain one man that day, we detained two. I guess we screwed up, and it came out and said we only admitted one, said we only detained one. But what they're saying about it is, he's being held by customs on immigration charges indefinitely. And I just want to point this out to the FBI, and I'd love to hear a statement from someone at the FBI. Please define for me immigration charges. Now, could that possibly be someone entering the U.S. without a valid passport?
Right.
I'd love that question to be answered.
Well, if you have a passport, if you have a passport and whatever else, you can just come here. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
That sounds like an excuse. I'm sorry, but
I'd love a definition from them on immigration charges. And notice he's being held indefinitely, and he's been held the entire time. And they, until last night, refused to admit it, and they were instead going directly against my statements on this issue the entire time.